Hello, I'm John Currie. I'm a professor of pastoral theology here at Westminster Seminary, and I've been a pastor for many years. I am delighted that you have visited our website to view this very brief message, because it means that God has somehow put in your hands this little Gospel of John. This is one of 66 books in the Bible that tells the greatest story of all and gives the greatest news that you or I could ever hear. This little gospel contains one of the most famous and precious verses in the whole Bible, John chapter 3 and verse 16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever would believe in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. There is a God, and He created human beings to live in relationship with Him, to worship Him, to have fellowship with Him and friendship with Him forever. But we sinned, and our sin broke fellowship with God. And our sin has made us guilty before God, so that we're separated from God and we're under the wrath of God. And that left to ourselves, we will spend eternity in hell under the judgment of God. That's why John chapter 3 and verse 16 is so precious, because it tells us that God sent the solution, Jesus Christ. And this little gospel tells us who He is and what He did. Jesus Christ is the Son of God who came in a human nature to live the obedient life we never could and never would. And then Jesus Christ, as the sinless Son of God, died on a cross as a substitute for the sin of every person who would ever believe in Him. And then after 3 days in the tomb, God raised Him from the dead, declaring Him to be His obedient and righteous Son, so that anyone who believes in Him would have life in fellowship and friendship with God for all eternity. John chapter 3 verse 16 tells us that God so loved the world that He sent His Son, that whoever believes in Him would not perish, but have everlasting life. It's through believing in Jesus Christ, by turning from our sin and trusting Him as our Savior, that God forgives our sin, removes His wrath from us, and grants us forever that fellowship and friendship with Him that He created us for. This little booklet, in its first few pages, has a graphic representation of the story that I've just told you. And as you continue to read the book, you'll start in on the words of God. And early in that book, this little booklet, we find this other precious promise. It's in John chapter 1 and verse 12. And it says this, "But to all who did receive Him, who believed in His name, He gave the right to become children of God." I hope this good news and that great promise will compel you to believe in Jesus Christ.